Good morning, everybody, and thank you so much for joining our webinar. Happy New Year. I hope everyone is having a good 2017 so far. Today's webinar, we're going to be talking about how to automate key processes to drive more revenue for your organization. A little bit about me. I'm Cecilia Tavel, for those of you that are not familiar with me or just joining for the first time. I've been a customer success manager here at Tatango for almost 4 years and really enjoy working collaboratively with you. Also, if you'd like to stay in touch or if you have any feedback or questions for me directly, you can send me an email. It's just cecilia@tatango.com, and I'll be happy to stay in touch. So just before we get started, I'm sure all of you have seen or heard information about our Customer Success Summit. It's a very exciting industry event that is happening at the end of February in San Francisco. So if you haven't registered yet, please do. It's going to be a really impactful 2 days full of best practices sessions, industry knowledge sharing, networking, a lot of great things. We'll have a specific customer impact track that is only for customers. So it's going to be a great place for you to meet your customer success manager and meet other customers. Lots of great stuff. So if you have any questions about registration, pricing, any details, please reach out to us, reach out to your customer success manager. Let us help get you and your team there. We'd love to see as many of you as possible. There's going to be a lot of interesting announcements, so we would love to see you there. So with that, I'm going to move on. So for today's agenda for this webinar, we're going to talk about identifying the right processes for automation, your revenue processes. We'll talk about setting up internal processes via success plays, also setting up alerts on key revenue opportunities, and also defining campaigns for high volume, and also one-to-many programs that can drive your revenue processes as well. So if we start thinking about kind of the high level and the existing processes that you already run as an organization, and which ones would be applicable for your revenue generating activities, which ones can you automate, which ones can you really set on autopilot, if you will, and drive revenue from that standpoint. So one that comes to mind, right away is renewals. And then how far in advance should we be looking at renewals? How can we automate that whole process? Offload your team to let that run in a somewhat automated fashion. Another one is upsells. How do we first, alert your team about kind of upsell opportunities, and how do we make sure that we, run some expansion programs, add-on products, programs, what can we do with that? And then overall, how do we set this up? And can we do this with a one-to-many approach? Can we do this in a kind of low-touch model if it makes sense for a specific customer segment to run it that way, so that you don't necessarily have to do the in-person outreach? You can automate some of it and offload your team and regain some precious minutes and hours in your day and your week and your month. So if we start kind of at the beginning steps of this, and we'll also walk through this in detail in the demo, but the first building blocks for it, and kind of the place where you would go to ask these kinds of questions and to start building the logic, is going to be in the segments area of Tatango. So if we start building segments first, we can really define what is our criteria for a particular process. So what I'm looking at here is a kind of a renewal process. We're looking at paying customers, and contract renewal date is in the next 90 days. So what can we do with that? One thing we can do is set up an alert. So you can use the trigger mechanisms and set up alerts, so that anytime there's a new account that comes into that renewal window, that email alias or maybe an individual will get an email alert letting them know that an account entered this time frame. Now you should really be focusing on them in the next 90 days or 120 days, however far in advance you look at your renewal. And then the other thing you can do is launch directly into a process building mechanism, which is our success plays. So you can actually build out a specific process that you want your customer success team to follow when the renewal comes in. So these are a couple of items to note in the segments. If we do launch into a process, then we basically just define what that process is going to be. We can also define a category for it. And if you haven't done this already in your instance of Tatango, the success flow capability is fairly recent. We released it kind of in the latter part of 2016, but it does allow you to set up specific activity categories. So what type of activity are you doing with your customers? So in this particular case, you can categorize this activity as a renewal category and then define your process to be aligned with that specific activity type. The next thing you want to do is actually give the specific instructions as to what you want your customer success team to do when the success play arrives or when this task arrives. So this is fairly generic, but you can make it very prescriptive. I just said engage with the customer in the renewal conversation. It's something that is assigned to the CSM so that they can basically take it from there and run with the process and secure that renewal in time when it does happen. The other type of success play that we can do is an upsell success play, which is also another one of our revenue generating activities. And the criteria for this particular one is, I'm looking at license utilization where it's above 80% in the last 2 weeks. And the upsell opportunity here is going to be just high license utilization and, reach out to the customer to discuss the upsell. And maybe, they've been growing rapidly. Maybe they're even above 100% license utilization. In that case, they probably want more, seats or more credits or whatever the licensing model that you're working with. And that's an opportunity for either the sales department, if the sales department is responsible for upsells in your organization, or the customer success department to reach out and, work on that opportunity. So these are processes, these are success plays, these are internal facing processes that you can set up. The other option for you, and this can be really handy for, your one-to-many programs or even, the high touch programs, the logic is defined appropriately, to run your upsells via campaigns. And the campaigns are the Tatango's capability with the emails. So you're sending the really catered, customized email messages to your customers' users with very specific messages based on what is happening in the product, based on something that you're trying to communicate to them. And in this case, we're trying to get them to upgrade or buy more of something. And in this case, again, my logic is to look at license utilization. So I'm going to offer in my proposal to my end user to add more additional users or licenses to their contract. And if there's a self-service capability here where you can simply provide your end user with a link where they can go and actually buy all the services that they need directly from your site, this kind of eliminates the whole hand-holding, someone having to get involved. It kind of automates this process for you so that you can focus on customers that actually need that hand-holding and more kind of personal touch. In this case, hopefully you can automate some of this and get your upsells done automatically without worrying about reaching out to every single individual customer in person. So if you are building the campaign editor, you can actually link from the segment directly into the campaign builder, which makes it really seamless and fast. And the other thing that we already discussed a little bit, but on the upsell side, if you're looking at configuring your segment logic, and also setting up alerts on the good opportunities. So these are alerts to alert your team of an upsell opportunity. So in this case, my logic is for license utilization that's above 101% in the last 2 weeks. I'm going to get a notification via email to an upsells@tatango.com email. And this will alert the team that there's, whenever there's a new account that enters an upsell opportunity criteria where their license utilization is above a certain threshold that I have defined, they're going to be alerted. So this is also a very good way to use the trigger mechanisms in Tatango, which reside in the segments area. So with all of that, tracking becomes important. So if you are already using Tatango's capability in the revenue center where you're managing the financial aspect of customer success in Tatango, it's great. If you don't have Revenue Center, or if you have questions about the Revenue Center, how to take advantage of the Revenue Center, please do reach out to us, because if you do have contract values into Tatango, or that information coming to Tatango, renewal dates, which are really key for obviously any revenue generating activities, Tatango can be a place where you can start forecasting. You can, specify whether a customer is going to upsell or, potentially churn if it's a bad situation. Hopefully not. You can also specify the amounts for which you're going to upsell the customer. You can also forecast renewals. And then you can actually look at your revenue center and see what you have as far as renewable accounts. What are your opportunities? What's the dollar value associated with that? And then you can track your goals. You can track your quarterly to date numbers versus your goal, and really brings the whole organization kind of together, front and center, to see what is happening to your business in real time, because you can actually update all of this in real time as you learn about new opportunities, as new opportunities are closed. The Revenue Center dashboard is updated. So this is a really nice place for you and get your team to manage the financial aspect of customer success. So again, reach out to us if you have any further questions as to how to take advantage of the Revenue Center. And the other part of tracking is going to be in your executive console under the team. So something that's relatively new, and if you haven't noticed it, when you hover over each customer success manager's kind of activities, you can actually now, with the new success flow category, see what types of activities they're having with their customers. So if we are focusing, let's say this quarter, on upsells or revenue generating activities, this is for us, the icon for that is the $sign. So we can see the distribution of what types of engagements our CSMs are having. So if we want to focus a little more energy and time on those revenue generating activities, we would want to see this particular activity bar grow a little bit more, because we want to do a little bit more outreach and upsells and revenue generation for the quarter. So this is another place to refer to if you're looking for some tracking and to see the distribution of the types of activities that your CSMs are having with the customer. And then visualization. So this is an example report that does have an upsell component in here. This is an upsell type of activity that you can set up into Tatango simply by using the specific success flow type and specifying upsells. You can categorize your other revenue generating activities as well, and then simply expose it in a report. So if you want to build reports like this, you would want to build the segments first with the logic that you're interested in, and then expose the specific trend lines and break it down by specific components, which is also another nice feature of a report, where you can actually slice and dice your data by various different data points into Tatango. And with that, I'm going to jump right into the live demo system in Tatango and show you how to do some of these things in specifically in Tatango. So before I jump into kind of the logic building of this in segments, I wanted to make sure that everyone is aware, and we did discuss the success flows just a little bit. If you want to add a little bit more precision to the specific activities or engagement types that you have with your customer, I would recommend that your admin, if you're not an admin, go into the settings, and if you haven't already done so, specify the specific activities or the types of activities that you have as a team. You also want to make sure that you have a default one, because if you start categorizing your touch points and specifying tasks, campaigns, and success plays, if you don't have a actual category available, all the things that you actually note in Tatango are going to have a default. So it's good to have a specific default. In our case, it's nurturing. That's always a safe bet. And then we also have the upsell. In our live instance, we also have other types of engagements, executive conversations, QBRs, whatever the specific engagements you have, it would be great to add those into Tatango. So make sure you do that and start categorizing all your engagements from then. And from here, we'll dive into the segments, which is really your kind of home base for defining a lot of the logic into Tatango. I have a specific webinar folder for myself, and some of the things I've created, have to do with, upsell opportunities. So for example, the one that we already talked about, one example would be an upsell opportunity where we're looking at high license utilization. So basically what I'm doing, and I'll show you kind of the editor piece of it, I'm adding the specific criteria for my logic. So I'm looking for customers who are paying. I'm looking for license utilization above 80, and maybe I really want to be a little bit more tuned here. So I'm going to actually ask for customers that are above 101%, because we do on Tatango allow our customers to create licenses on Tatango. They're not necessarily capped, so we track if they are above it. Then we reach out and we kind of engage them in an upsell type of conversation. So I'm going to just simply look at that, and I'm going to click on apply, and I'm going to get my results. So it looks like I have 39 accounts that are above 101% in license utilization. I also have the column exposed for me here, so actually see who are those customers. And it's really nice because I can actually sort by this column and look at all my customers. So it looks like, wow, we have a few that are really above their license utilization. If you're looking for this type of capability of adding other columns in your segment list view that you're not seeing, you can actually do this with the select columns little plus sign. And it's a really neat capability because you can actually add any data point that is interesting for you. Once you have added it, you can actually drag and drop it and reposition it in your results. So for example, if I wanted to look at something like specific to who is the success manager for this particular account, I can actually bring that in as well. I can reposition it and put it on top if it's important, and then I can add that column. And now I can actually also see by my success manager what are the upsell opportunities. And if I wanted to group that, that's another neat way to look at the data. I can just look at by success manager, what do we have going on for license utilization above 101%, and who is the CSM that has the most upsell opportunities. And I can actually see, what do we have to work with for this particular time frame. And there, so it looks like, Ron has 8, Aaron has just 4. So, we see where the potential is as far as our customer success department. So that's your grouping capability, which is really neat in the segments piece. So from here, as we talked about, if you're looking to build a process, one thing we already discussed is getting alerts on upsell opportunities or any sort of revenue generating opportunity. You can set that up in triggers. So if we go into the edit mode and triggers, you can actually define a specific tag. So you can apply a tag on an account. You can also send an email. So an email is going to go to the specific email address defined with that trigger. And the other thing we can do is launch directly into a process. So we already talked about success plays, and it's an internal facing process that you can launch into where you can actually go and build out, a specific task assignment for your customer success team members to receive that automatically whenever a customer enters the kind of the above license utilization threshold. So you can actually go in and define what the process will be. I'm going to call this specific type of engagement an upsell in my success flow. I will continue. And then this is here where I can just specify what that process will be. Reach out to discuss adding more seats. And I can assign it directly to my success manager. It can be assigned by me, or it can be assigned from someone else. Give a priority. I want it to be high, and due date will be 3 days after the task is assigned. And then I'll continue, and from here I can actually just activate the success play where a task is going to go into the queue for that CSM. It's going to arrive in their notification center with them through my portfolio, and it's also going to have an email associated with it. So I'm going to just save that as disabled. So again, this is your internal facing process, and you can build these processes for any type of program that you're running. It can be an upsell program, expansion program, renewal program, anything related to revenue generation. The other thing that I wanted to highlight really quick is the capability of setting up things that are automatic through the campaigns capability. So as we talked about, how can we offload the team and automate some of the upsell processes or renewal processes or expansion processes in one-to-many approach. So if we're looking to build the logic out and send a campaign out via email. And in this case, I'm looking for upsell through self-service where license utilization is above 101%. These are the users that I have identified. So I have 70 users across 36 accounts. And the user is also a key contact because, I want to send this email to only someone who is actually a key contact because they are the ones that are going to be the authority in signing paperwork and, processing the order. So I can launch into my campaign right away by clicking on this little icon on the very right. And that launches me very similar to SuccessBlaze, but, the campaign builder. Again, I will call this an upsell type of campaign. And I usually like to go with build your own custom campaign when I do these. I'm going to just review my logic. I can see, what the logic is. If I needed to edit the logic, I can click on edit and add other filters. And these are my audience members, and the ones that are crowned, they're the ones that have the key contact designation. So that's why they have the cute little crown on them. And when I click on continue, I can have a goal or I can skip the goal. And then this is where I can customize my message. So obviously email subject that you would like to come out from you. Again, the campaign is going to come directly from the CSM if that's what you'd like. So you can define the success manager. So it's going to be coming to their customer and they'll already recognize the name. If they respond to the email, it's going to go directly back to the customer success manager from whom the email arrived. And then I can specify a template. So a lot of times, I like to use just a plain text email template because it looks more closely aligned to just a regular email that I would send to my customer. But if you're looking to do more customization, maybe branding, logos, colors, and select one of the other ones that we have. So if we just go into the plain text mode, basically what you want to do once you have the email text available, or you can just type it on the go, is to make sure that you're making the body of the message really specific and precise to that specific individual customer user. So you can actually address them by their first name if we have that data, and we should, in an ideal situation, have the first and last name of all the individual users. And if for some reason there is no first name for that user, then you can just say hi there. And then from here, you can customize the body. So any data point that is currently in Tatango, you can actually expose to the individual reading the email. So if you look at the add data area, if there's something specific about that customer, you can say you have this many licenses and you're at, this percentage of utilization. You can actually expose the data to them. And when they open it up, it's gonna, pull in the right data for that particular individual. So feel free to customize the message with data that is meaningful and impactful for the specific individual and the customer. From here, you can obviously preview your message, send yourself test examples to make sure that you're getting the right formatting, if everything's aligning correctly, all the links work properly, and then you can schedule and send your campaign. So this is a nice way to automate again and offload some of the already repetitive tasks or activities that your CSMs or your team already performs in a more automated fashion. And this can be an ongoing type of campaign, so you don't need to worry about remembering to send it. It's just going to occur automatically whenever the customer enters a specific predefined conditions. An email is going to be sent. So for example, if there's license utilization above a certain threshold, the key contact on the account is going to get that specific email message with something prompting them to get more subscription to their contract added. So these are all nice capabilities, again, either internal facing processes via SuccessBlaze or external facing automation via campaigns in a one-to-many approach. So with that, we're just approaching, towards the end of the webinar. I wanted to pause for a second and see if anyone has any questions. So feel free to type in your questions if you have any, and I'll hang out here for just 3 or so minutes and hopefully address the questions that are coming in. If you don't have any questions, I do want to thank everyone for joining. I do want to remind everyone about the Customer Success Summit at the end of February. Please do reach out to us if we can assist you or if you have any questions. If you need help getting to the summit, We would absolutely love to hear from you and hear how we can help. Again, I'm Cecilia Tavel. Please stay in touch. If you want to reach me directly, cecilia@tatango.com. Otherwise, I'll hang on for a couple more minutes to see if anyone has any questions. Thank you very much.